Hey beautiful people, I'm back with the second part of my video about travelling abroad and working abroad. So the first video that I did last week, I focused more on how to switch off, which is what you need to do first. And then once you've switched off, what we're finding is that people are going away for a little bit longer because of all the faff with coronavirus and everything. Rather than going away for a week, coming back and working, there's the ability to now to work flexibly and to work remotely from abroad. So last year I worked from Dubai for two and a bit weeks. Part of that was a holiday, the first little bit, and then I worked remotely. And I found that it was really good because I could kind of carve out time for me, but also mean that I was still able to get a lot of stuff done. So I then tried it again whilst I'm here in Thailand. So I came away for 3 weeks. I started in Abu Dhabi in Dubai, went there for a couple of days on a holiday for Christmas, chilled out, came here, chilled out for a week, and then I've been working remotely. But even working remotely, because of the time difference here, 9 o'clock is like when everybody logs on in the UK. Here, that's 4 o'clock. So normally I work a couple of hours before everybody gets up. So I'll start at like 2-3 o'clock. Do a couple of hours on my emails where there's no distractions, no notifications, which is amazing for my ADHD brain. And then be able to then engage with the team, arrange all of my team meetings at like the beginning of the day for the UK, mindful of that time zone and making sure that I'm really clear about how to communicate with me and when I'll be available to review things, because people get used to you being there all the time, but actually that adds to our stress. As a lawyer, as a CEO, as a manager, people get used to relying on you for the answers because you know them. And the reality is individuals will have to start to think for themselves, but also it gives you a little bit of a break from the constant emails coming through of those little pieces of information that people want out of your brain. But it also gives you the opportunity to explore, to travel. And I personally have found it's been so helpful for my mental health. I feel incredibly better since, I didn't even realise how burnt out I was until I got here. And the reality is, even though I've been doing bits of work, it still felt like a holiday because I've been in control of that. I've managed everybody's expectations. And what I've done is still manage a law firm from here over the last 2 weeks. I've been able to attend meetings with clients. So what I want to do today is just share a couple of tips and tricks, some of the things that I think you need to think about if you want to work remotely. And as always, please like, subscribe and share this if you think it's helpful. But also if you've got any questions that arise from it, please just drop me a message. It's something that we're rolling out at Thrive, that all of our staff have the ability to work abroad for up to 1 month each year. So I want to show the benefits, but also some of the challenges so that we can really start to live and breathe this really agile work lifestyle. So what are the key things to think about? Well, as I've said before, the time zone. The time zone is a huge thing to think about. This could massively impact on meetings that are already in your diary. So get organised, understand, whilst you're away, are there meetings that are impacted by the time zone? Is there anything that could be impacted by your travel times? Is there a possibility about any delays? Would that impact on you not being able to attend a meeting or not being able to get a piece of work done? So really think about what the impact of you travelling is going to have on the rest of the team and the clients. And obviously, I'm talking about this from the perspective that you've already got permission to go and work abroad. But, it goes without saying, make sure you have permission and your employer know. It's really important that they do. And it's really important, not just from an employer's perspective, but for the employee's perspective, because you need to act with honesty and integrity at all times. So, don't just go abroad and not tell people. Make sure that you are really, really clear and transparent about what you're doing, when you'll be traveling, and think about the impact of the time zone and also your location might have when you're working remotely. So what else? I'm trying to think. Actually, I have something else to tell you about this. So I had a meeting with a client and I was on Copenhagen and I went to go get the boat and the boats decided not to go because that's just what they do sometimes, and there wasn't a boat till 5 p.m. So I did have to rearrange a few bits, but what it meant was I had to find a cafe that was quiet, and then I text my client and I said, look, I'm going to be doing this from a cafe because there isn't anywhere for me to do it because the boat isn't taking me back and there's no other boat until this time. So I literally was there with a backpack, with my laptop, in a cafe. There were no other people, so from a GDPR and confidentiality thing, it was absolutely fine because it was a complete, well, it's dead there at the moment, but there was nobody else there. I had to find a cafe with no music, which is quite hard, but it was actually, it showed me like, rather than panicking about that situation, what I did was just say the client already knew I was in Thailand. They knew they were having the call remotely. They didn't really care where, regardless of my kind of stress about going, oh, you know, I'm not going to be there for the meeting. The reality was they didn't care as long as I was there and they could hear me. They really weren't bothered. And because I'd managed their expectations and I communicated effectively with them, the meeting went incredibly well, and I was able then to get my boat back to Koh Samui. But just think about stuff like that. You know, when you're abroad, there may be delays, there may be travel issues that stop you from doing the tasks that you're supposed to do. They may delay the meetings that you're attending. So always have a backup plan for that. What else do you need to consider? Well, I would say tax law, immigration law, understanding, you know, if there is any visas that you need, are you allowed to work on from that particular country or not? So make sure that you understand the immigration status. Employment law. I'm an employment lawyer. Employment law can be relevant because you may end up, if you're there for a long period of time, coming under their laws and having jurisdiction that applies in two areas. So again, think about how long you're going to go for and see whether that then impacts on the immigration, employment law and tax law, because that's something that your employer will probably want to know and understand. Think about data protection as well. Really dry topic, I know that. However, if you're travelling outside of the EEA, or if you're travelling to a country that doesn't have data protection laws, is this covered in your employer's policy? Is this something that you're able to do in the line of work that you do, or is there another layer of protection that you need to be mindful of? Also thinking about protection, employer's liability. Does their insurance cover you in another country, or does it only cover you in the office? You need to double check these things before you go. Health and safety. Your employer has certain legal obligations that they need to meet. This could be affected by you working from a different location. So again, when you're checking the employer's liability stuff and the other bits with your employer, run through all of this so that you're both aware of exactly what the position is to make sure before you actually book anything. It's really important that you do that and agree the position moving forward. Coming to Thailand, I had to prove that I had medical insurance that covered coronavirus for up to, I think it was 50 grand or something. So make sure, regardless of whether the country require that as a travel requirement, make sure that you have cover that covers you not only travelling abroad, but working abroad. So make sure that cover's in place because it's very important. A lot of countries, you're not going to have any medical assistance if you don't have that cover in place. We take for granted what we have here in the UK. So it's really important that you make sure your medical insurance is there, and also your travel insurance that kind of obviously usually combined with that. You have a level of medical within the travel insurance. If anything goes wrong, you lose your bag, you lose your laptop, what will happen? Think about all of those things in advance. And also think about your home insurance and all of the stuff that goes on at home. If you're going for a longer period of time, are you actually allowed to sublet your property? Does your home insurance cover that person being in there? That type of thing. Just have a think about those things before you do it on a more long-term basis. And the final thing I'd probably say is the coronavirus restrictions. So how I deal with this is I put a restriction change update, like notification thing on the government website. So whenever a country that I'm following has any change to their requirements, I get an email from the government website telling me what that is. So that could be really helpful for you. Both times I've been away, the rules have changed. So when I was in Dubai, the rules changed and I needed a PCR, which you can't get on the plane with. So I had to go book that and obviously keep up to date with that. Whilst I've been here, they've reduced the restrictions and I now don't need one to travel to the UK. However, Abu Dhabi have brought something in and I do need it from there. So just be on top of that because it changes daily and it's not always the UK. It may be where you're transiting through, which is the Abu Dhabi flight on the way back, or it may be the country where you're going to, that is their requirement. So there's lots and lots of different rules and procedures that you need to consider. So be really organised with all of this. Basically, you're going to have the best time if you're just really organised and just make the most of being abroad, being in an environment that, you know, maybe a couple of years ago you wouldn't have been able to, and make sure you make it work. Communicate really well with your team, be really productive, be really transparent about what you're doing, where you're going to be, and you'll absolutely smash it. I've had the best time in Thailand, and I hope that sharing some of this insight is helpful for you guys. But as always, if you've got any questions or you think there's something that I've missed or anything else, just get in touch. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and come next week to watch my next video. So the next video is going to be a little bit more legal / coronavirus, and I'm going to talk about the impact on individuals and the legalities around cutting pay for self-isolating for those people who are unvaccinated following the various news stories that have been bumbling around the past couple of days. So if you've got any questions on that, obviously the video will come next week in terms of the legal position and some practical points on that. But essentially, that's me for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.